No, you're good.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our September regional hearing for the California Truth in Healing Council. We all appreciate your being here, and appreciate your patience as we kind of figure out places to post. I know we're going to be down in Southern California, and we're looking toward December for something like that, so we'll keep you all posted as well. My name is Christina Snider-Ashtari. I am a Filipina and Macamo, and a member of the Dry Creek Ranch Indians and currently serve as the Tribal Affairs Secretary for Governor Gavin Newsom. First, I'd like to thank the Berkeley folks for your partnership in hosting us here today. And as always, thank you to our outstanding Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs team for your work in coordinating this convening. I'm going to go through some very brief housekeeping items, and then I'm going to turn it over to our partners and also our council member who is present if they'd like to say a few words. And then we'll go over some of, it's very strange. This is our documentarian, he's not documenting us today, so it's throwing me off a little bit, because he's usually like understanding. Then we'll go into general introductions and discussion after we kind of give you an overview of what this is, why we're here, what's the whole point, and then we'll just go through our introductions. And I'll remind you how we're going to go through that. A couple of things real quick. There is food and some drinks over in that area. This is an outdoor area as well if you feel like you need to step outside. We have some sage if you need to smudge or you want to burn. We ask that you take that outside. And then there are some restrooms just in this hall right here. At this time, I'm going to go over a few logistics. As a reminder, we're recording this convening and we'll be posting it to the Office of Tribal Affairs YouTube channel. Please let us know if you'd like us to pause the recording at any point in today's meeting. Also, if you say something that you don't want reflected on YouTube and you think about it later and you say, oh my gosh, I wish I hadn't said that, please let us know and we can edit it before we post it. Once it's posted, it's kind of done though, so it's out in the world and we can potentially do a little bit of editing at that point, but again, you have some time, so let us know. For those interested in following the council, ongoing updates including listening session recordings, listening session summary documents are available at the California Truth in Healing Council updates blog at cthtruthhealing.com. You can also get updates for events by following the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Additional details including meeting dates, agendas, and background information are available at tribalaffairs.ca.gov/CTHC. Our next regional hearing day is going to take place tomorrow.
So tomorrow we will continue to be in Berkeley. We are going to be at the Saborte Rematriated Garden, and that is it's on Ashby Avenue. It's in a tech. That is from 3 to 7 p.m. tomorrow, and we do have this flyer on the table with that address and some more information.
You're welcome to join us there too. Sometimes what happens is people think of things they want to talk about and then they talk and then the next day they remember they didn't say the thing that they wanted to say, so they come back and they talk more, and so you're invited to come to vote or not. Also, with that one, typically we structure these so that there's a meal either at the beginning or at the end. That one will have one at the end, and so we'll start with what we're doing right now and then we'll end early so that we can all share a meal. Another thing that is not affiliated with us, but it's kind of cool that I'm gonna try to go to, is, and I think Loretta is also, is there's gonna be some Indigenous programming at the Oakland Museum. So Audio Pharmacy is gonna be there. That's the Dry Creek guy that we're trying to, maybe you should go and meet him. And then I think another DJ is gonna be there as well. So I think it's a free event from 5 to 9 p.m. And And let's see, our next regional hearing is up in Modoc County. So in October, we will be in Modoc in Siskiyou County. On October 12th, we will be up at Fort Bidwell, and that is in the very far northeast center portion of the state. There's a flyer in the This
back.
part of California.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm like pretending to draw, but yeah. So that is our next upcoming court or regional hearing on October 12th. Next day, we will be at Juanita Lake, which is in Siskiyou County, as a part of the Modoc Ancestral Run. And so this is, I believe it's a 75-mile run that takes up over, the course of a few different days, running on the ancestral lands of Modoc people. It's a very spiritual run. They have invited us to be there the morning after that run, and so that will be an early one. I believe it's 9 to 12, and we'll end with a meal as well, and that is on October 13th. And again, there's a flyer in the back with more information.
If you'd like to assist in any of those meetings or in any of the ones moving forward, the meeting after that is going to be our November meeting, and again, that's our kind of last quarterly meeting in Sacramento. We're doing it in the days leading up to the first inaugural Native American parade that the Native American Caucus is putting on in Sacramento, and so please feel free to reach out to us if you have skills in making floats. We have entered to be in it. We don't know what that looks like yet.
Might be a pickup truck, we don't know.
We'll probably be it. I'd now like to remind everyone that in joining us here today, you agree to adhere to the Council's principles for respectful engagement, which I'll summarize for you in a moment. A copy of the principles is available for your use and review at tribalaffairs.ca.gov/CTHC. Refusal to adhere to the principles, which apply to everybody, whether present or not, may result in your removal from today's convening. If you feel at any time that you need to step out, or you feel that you may be in need of assistance, please come find one of our team and we can help you get some air. In order to create a space where participants feel welcome, respected, and able to speak comfortably, we'll uphold the following principles in all convenings of the Council, and we ask that you work towards sharing in their stewardship. If you're a participant in one of our convenings, we ask that you engage in the work of the Council and with others in an open and respectful way. Engage in behaviors that will make others feel welcome. Take care of your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical well-being, and seek support as you need it. Really, we want this to be a space where we can openly share ideas, thoughts, anything that we're bringing to this place, but we also want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's respectful of the others who are in the room. So it's basically, we just ask that people don't target individuals, name individuals, do things that I think would alienate folks within the circle. So if we start hearing certain things, then we'll say something. It hasn't really happened. It's happened maybe once or twice where we've had to course correct and say like, hey, please don't talk about that certain tribe. We're gonna have to edit that out. But for the most part, you're welcome to say whatever you need to say. We want this to be a constructive conversation, and we welcome anything that you brought today. Finally, I'd like to remind attendees that as we work through today's discussions, this process is necessarily open to all Californians, but we ask that those here at ALLI ensure that they please respect the space and voice of California Native participants, particularly elders in this process. For those members of the press in attendance or watching this after the fact, we ask that you engage with this process with deference to the Native experience, and that you commit to obtaining consent and final review from the Native peoples that you hear from today. We don't want this to be an extractive process, and we hope that you'll assist us in creating a safe space that is open, transparent, and welcome to all. I'm now going to hand it over to Poppy for some welcome remarks.
Thank you so much. Good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. The timing. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Poppy. I go Snider-Ashtari. I use she/they pronouns. I'm a program specialist here in the Native Community Center and for Native American Student Development. I'm a descendant of Taos Pueblo and the Hickory Apache tribes. I moved into this position after being a community steward or intern here for 2 years. I was a student, but I just graduated in the spring. Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, really happy to be here working still in the community and here at Berkeley. We're really excited and happy to have all of you here today, and really thank you all for coming. Pardon our dust, we are having some major construction going on outside that's affecting our accessibility, so our apologies. It's a major L on behalf of the university, but just wanted to welcome you all to the Native Community Center. This is now our 4th year in the space. We do have a 5-year MOU with the Graduate Assembly. They helped us to secure this space, and we're really, looking to extend as our community continues to grow, as the Native and Indigenous community at Berkeley continues to thrive and grow. Just building on the shoulders of decades of student activism, of fighting for a space for Native and Indigenous folks here on campus. Because in the years prior to 2021, we just had our office, NASD office, which we still have over in Cesar Chavez building, but it's like tiny. So this is a huge step forward, and we're just hoping to extend our stay here, but also, eventually find a space that's larger than this, specifically for our community, so we can, have a stable, central place for our community here on campus. Just a couple announcements about the space. Please help yourself anytime. Get up, get coffee, tea, food, refreshments. We do have bathrooms. They're accessible, these two right here. They're both non-gendered, so feel free to use whichever one you're comfortable with. We do only have 2, so if you have to wait, just be patient, please. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. Myself and Jolene, she's here at the desk. She's one of our community stewards, one of our interns. We're both here on site for this whole entire hearing. So if you need anything or have any questions, just let me know or let Jolene know. I'll just be sitting right here. And just happy to have all of you all here. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teddy Simon. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the Navajo Nation, grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I think like many of you in the room, I'm a guest here in Huchun, which is the ancestral territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. I'm really honored and sometimes daunted and overwhelmed to be here at UC Berkeley as the inaugural director of Tribal Affairs within the Chancellor's Office of Government and Community Relations. So really holding the university accountable to the needs and priorities and interests of Native communities and tribal nations, especially California tribes and California Native people, is a responsibility that I would take very seriously. That includes fostering a real understanding of tribal sovereignty at the university, of really listening to Native voices and illuminating the university's history. I think all of us in the room know that the university and all of the members of the university community have really benefited from the theft and occupation of Native land. That includes being a land grab university, pillaging and plundering Native burial sites, and so many more things that continue to happen to this day. So UC Berkeley still has a lot of our own work to do to really understand, to grapple and reckon with that history, to even begin to move towards healing and to begin to move towards right relationship with tribal nations. And I think we have a lot to learn from the work that the state's Truth and Healing Council has done towards those efforts. So I'm really grateful that we were asked to host and that we were able to host this afternoon. I look forward to hearing all of your testimony and the words that you have to share, and doing my best to represent those and advocate on behalf of your needs and interests with the Chancellor and with the university. And I, in closing, just also really wanted to thank and recognize the interns and staff here at the Native Community Center. This is an incredibly beautiful and special place on campus, and I'm so glad that we could all be here today, despite maybe your challenges in finding the front door. But I'm really grateful also to all the members of the Native community, students, staff, faculty, alumni, and other folks who have fought for many decades for Native representation at UC Berkeley. So thank you and welcome.
moderating the meetings of Berkeley and Sharia. I want to be sure to thank the UC Berkeley, the Native Community Center, and all those who helped to organize today's event. As a member of the council, I'm here today to help support receiving public testimony to help ensure that the council's final report reflects an accurate and holistic history between Native people in the state of California. On that note, I'll say, come on, Michelle.
Before I go over what we're doing here, I do want to have Loretta and Jason introduce yourselves, and JoJo, fair warning, I may have you introduce yourself as well.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Loretta Miranda. I am a descendant of the Morongo Band of Mission Indians in Southern California. My great-grandparents come from the San Diego area. My great-grandfather comes from Warner Springs, and my great-grandmother comes from the El Capitan Reservation that was flooded with the building of the San Diego Reservoir. I currently serve as Deputy Tribal Affairs Secretary and Special Counsel for the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs. Been in that role for about 3.5-ish years. And again, just really thankful to UC Berkeley and the Chancellor's Office for hosting this. And we do apologize that it was a bit of a struggle to find parking, but thankful that you were all here. Really looking forward to the conversation today. You will notice I wear a couple different hats, so I do take some photos. I'm still learning, so I tend to take a lot, and it makes a clicking noise. I don't have that much money to buy me a fancy one yet. And so I will be taking pictures, usually when you're talking. If you do not want me to use your photos for any reason, just please pull me aside and let me know, and then I'll make sure that does not happen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason McConnell. I've worked with Christina for a long time, going back to when Jerry Brown was governor. We both worked in his office together. I now work at California State Parks as a special assistant in the director's office, but I'm spending most of my time now under an agreement with the Office of Tribal Affairs to help with the California Truth and Healing Council's research and writing needs. That's my specialty. Underneath it all, academically, I'm a geographer. I got my PhD from Davis, and in the governor's office, I was special assistant for research. I kind of answered all of his questions on many different topics for a long time. So, you know, I do my best, and I'm available to the council and to the community to pursue different, new, difficult research topics that should be brought to light as part of the truth and healing process. I don't know how much I really want to break down. There's a lot of people here to talk. What are the most important points to hit? Place names, right?
Place names, and I think the indenture stuff.
Okay, place names and indentures. I won't get too deep into the instruction. Okay. All right. Thanks, Christina. Okay, thanks. Okay, so as a geographer at California State Parks, I am part of the Re-Examining Our Past Initiative leadership team. And what I specialize in is sort of reconciliation in place names, restoring native names where there's a name that's derogatory or honor somebody that shouldn't be honored. So I've worked on, actually I just had to do the numbers, 34 open cases over the time that I've been working on it since 2022. And this started really when Secretary Holland issued the order to have the S word for Native woman removed from the map in 2022. And I kind of led the effort at Parks to find the features, the geographic features within our system that had that name and work to the greatest extent possible with local tribes to get good native names restored on those features. Since then, I was actually appointed by the Secretary of the Interior to the Advisory Committee on Reconciliation and Place Names. And we've been meeting since the end of 2022 to make recommendations for further secretarial action on place names, on derogatory names. Most recently in Rapid City, South Dakota, back in June, we voted to remove that she should use her power secretary to remove the name Devil's Power from Bears Lodge, which is a very sacred site for many, many different peoples around that area. If you have place names that you're aware of, whether they're in the system or outside the system of state parks, under anyone's authority that you're interested in changing, you can always come to me. I might not be the person to actually lead the charge, which would be the case if it's inside parks, but I can definitely advise you and also take advice for the roles that I'm serving in that I just described. And then the other thing was so slavery. California was a slave state. A lot of people don't realize that California as a state established a system for involuntary labor that was actually being established at the same time that on the East Coast of the United States was fighting a war to end slavery. And the form that this system took was that a property owner, a white settler, would go to a county court, which is a kind of court that doesn't exist anymore. But they go to the county court and they would say, I have this native person living on my land. Maybe it's a baby or 5-year-old, their ages range up to 80. And I'm going to take this person as an apprentice. And until such and such a date, often when they were children, it would be until they were 30 years old that they're just going to work for free on this person's property and supposedly learn how to farm or how to take care of animals, livestock. It came up last year that somebody should be making a really strong effort to locate as many of these documents as possible. And when I started out, I knew where there were 16 of them up in Colusa County at the court reporter's office because a historian had published about it. Since then, I've been delving into all kinds of different archives. They're hard to locate, hard to find, but I found about 42 of them at this point from Sonoma County, from Colusa County, from Sacramento County. And they identify 66 individuals. And one of the reasons I'm talking to this group that's very educated and very interested in these topics here is because I've been trying to figure out what the best way to introduce this material to the public and way that's respectful is. And it's very hard to determine who the descendants of this this horrible traumatic experience. I'm traumatized just handling the documents because these are handwritten documents that are signed away from freedom of a child. And so I find it traumatic. The descendants, are going to find it even more traumatic. So I don't want it to suddenly be like the latest. Oh, look at just post it all online and let the public tear into it. And of course, let people say, well, it was really slavery, which is the whole point of the law that they passed. So anyway, just hoping people will brainstorm on that. And then of course, if you believe your relatives were in the system, you should come to me because I do have names. Generally what we have is the last name of the property owner and first name, sometimes Spanish, sometimes native, sometimes English, of the people who were enslaved. And I think that many people in California actually got their surnames that way. From the property owners that held them in slavery, much like African Americans in the eastern U.S. So that might be one way that people can locate that I can start to at least have the discussion with the actual victims of the system on how to bring this, because it's something the public needs to know about, but I don't want to blow it up either because it's so dramatic. I think that's all. I didn't want to talk too long, so I'll put it back to Christina. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Berkeley.
So that is to say too that the project of looking for those documents came up in a meeting similar to this, and so if there are things that you think might exist that you want Jason to start looking into, he is a researcher, and so we can have him look into those things as well.
So I'd like to recommend that 3 documents be part of that consideration. The American Indian Planning there you'll find reports from federal representatives on conditions they found here in California. And one of the reports contained information that related that they were reporting on people who had a human-like form. So they weren't even considered human beings, but you'll find that in this report. It was ordered by Senator John L. Berkeley and was produced in September 2002.
California Research Bureau, I do
Yeah.
have access to that.
It'll tell you a lot about what we went through, what our families went through. And
Yes.
it documents some of the information you just shared with us.
Could I back up to the planning grant final report?
Yeah, this is the American Indian Planning Grant final report. And it was with the Robert Presley Center for Crime and Justice, prepared by the Intertribal Council of California. These are reports based on, frontline experiences in addressing some of these challenges in our tribal communities throughout California. And the Intertribal report represents 70-some tribes addressing the ongoing challenges of victimization in our tribal communities throughout California. These things are incredibly ignored in policy development, and it's been really frustrating because there isn't really interest in these kind of reports for some reason to be included in development of position papers, white papers, so on and so forth. So I appreciate what you're sharing, and I think this would provide additional clarification on the treatment, the in detriment of our children.
Was there a third title?
Yeah, it was the Early California Laws and Projects Related to California Indians, California Native American Communities Justice Program, Tribal Community Family Violence Survey Findings. We were able to develop a program to study what was happening to victims in our tribal communities. Not in the cities, but predominantly in the rural areas where the tribes are at. There is an ongoing disconnect with the law enforcement in our tribal communities, and we've been really advocating for a connection being made because California is what they call a PL 280 state, where the transfer happened of civil and criminal jurisdiction from tribal governments to the state of California. And that's still an incredible challenge for victims throughout our tribal communities because there's a lack of understanding of the transfer of jurisdiction under PL 280 and tribally issued temporary restraining orders. So we have an ongoing challenge just in victim services by law enforcement throughout the state of California ignoring tribal temporary restraining orders. So our tribal women are victimized without any real care from the law enforcement, predominantly in the rural areas throughout California. So we've been experiencing that, from, forever. And so these reports help relay what is happening in our tribal communities.
Do you have all those?
I think I have enough. I'll find you.
Yeah,
I'll find you on a break.
There's more that I'd like to share on different reports in health, education, but they don't seem to be coming here.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that prior studies that have been done with tribal communities be part of this research and development of responses to what's happening out there. If you're not reading these reports, if they're not included in there, you won't get the heavy stuff, because this is the heavy stuff. And it's ignored completely by systems, blue ribbon commissions, the tribal, or not the tribal, but the victim services programs, by women's shelters throughout the state. Our tribal women are ignored.
Yeah.
And so this is why we continue to advocate. And then the other thing that this shows is the ongoing intergenerational trauma that's happening in our communities, but not being addressed by leadership. And so I think like today, there's 113 tribes, right, or more in the state of California. So out of that, we hope that participation improves and increases. really needed to hear. We were at a housing meeting about 3 months ago for the state of California to allocate housing to tribes. Out of the 113 tribes that are looking for housing, not one tribe showed up, not one tribe leader. So we're looking at elders in our community, working with our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren in education, health, and victim services. And it's highly unlikely you're gonna find really responsive results. I think what we're as elders looking at is the complete colonization of our tribal communities, where we get an opportunity to share what's happening to our communities. But if they're not here, then how do we know? So we need leadership here. We need people making decisions here. And it's been really difficult for our elders to really see that there is movement in these areas. And it's been very discouraging. And some of the things we hear are encouraging, but like at home, we're dealing with the suicide of our tribal children. And our elders group has been working with the MHSA, the Mental Health Services Act, and getting no traction whatsoever. And yet, our children are still being committing suicide and SARD, kicked out of school. So there's a lot of resources out there, like Tribal TANF, like the education programs, but our children are still going through this. And where are the people that are supposed to be helping? We don't have to see them. They don't have to come and see us out there in the tribal communities because they get paid whether they work with us or not. And that's the reality of it. Our children are still suffering high suicide levels from opioid overdoses. And that's what we're dealing with out there in the tribal communities. And we're not seeing any feedback as to where all of this is going to go, or how do you control, or how do you have oversight over the various programs and services. Well, we're not coming together at the table. So historically, California Rural Indian Health Board, Intertribal Council, CRIB, all of us used to get together in leadership and say, how do we help in education? How do we help in health? How do we help in community development? Yada, yada. But we don't see that actually happening anymore. So it's kind of interesting, you know, because are there any tribal leaders here today? Chairman, vice chairman, secretaries of council? And this is a leadership, right? This meeting here is supposed to be about how we can create a change in our communities. So it's been kind of frustrating as an elder looking at this and wanting everything here to be successful. And it's so heartbreaking because it's about 4 weeks ago that one of my nieces passed from being poisoned. And nothing was done to follow up on her death. And so this is what we're continuing to experience out there, and hoping our leadership will be at these tables so everyone can move forward on addressing what these challenges are. That's what I see this thing doing for us. But if our leadership isn't here, if the decision makers aren't here, what good is it that we come together? If those decision makers aren't part of the process, shouldn't the decision makers be part of this process? Shouldn't the leaders be here to hear what you are saying, what all of us are saying? So, I say it on behalf of Pathfinder's group of elders that I've been working with for a few years in mental health. We want our children to stop killing themselves. We want our elders to have health care. And the reality is we're seeing a lot of suffering out there under our own tribal leadership, under our own workers. So I appreciate the time all of you give to talk, because it's hard watching this
over the years and seeing people who haven't been out to our rancheries, haven't seen the hovels, seeing where our children are coming from. And our leadership getting thousands and thousands. State of California, $95 billion out of the tribes for the state of California. So this is what we're talking about, that unjust system. No other business in the state of California has to pay millions of dollars to do business in our own place. And that's okay with everybody. But our children are suffering. They really are. I wish I could show you where children I'm related to have to live, while our tribal administrator gets almost $300,000 a year, where our officers get $150,000 a year, and there's 7 of them.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing we're dealing with out there as tribal people. People who work in different programs have never been to a tribal rancheria to see the hovel, to see the desperation, to know why our children aren't attending schools regularly because they don't have a place to wash their clothes. This is in America today, folks. And there's millions and millions literally going to the state of California out of our tribal governments. What other foreign country or any other business in the state of California has to pay to do a business in your own property? And yet that's what the voters of the state of California did to us as tribal people.
Is that the casinos?
Yes. Yeah. And it's 90, what, I think we looked on it.
$9 billion.
That
There's
there,
exactly $9 billion that are made annually by 73 native casinos and 5 mini casinos that are reflected in the 109 nations, territories, rancherias, or reservation systems or nations in the state, so-called state of California.
so with the state of California is what, the 7th largest economy in the world. And 90 million of that comes from tribal communities. And yeah, there are some that are making, $5,000, $10,000 a month now. But the reality is the 900 and some other, or 50 some other tribes aren't at that level, aren't even close. We're talking about thousands of tribal people. Sorry, I just want to share that because that's why I came in. Well, go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm just sharing what this guy was talking about. Here it is. You got it?
I don't wanna cut you off because
Yeah,
we
no.
want you for you to be able to say what you need to say, so if we could.
Rambling? See, this is the kind of respect is out there, is rambling.
You've
No,
taken over this whole meeting.
I
With all
was
due respect.
responding to
There's other
what that
people who'd
gentleman
like
said,
to testify here.
and I'm giving him information in addition to what he's been researching.
Then you can email them, right?
I think we'll manage the meeting from here on out,
Thank
so
you.
I
Please
respect,
do.
I respect that you have some concerns about the length of time that people are taking, but we'd like people to be able to say what they need to say.
Should be a time limit.
We don't have that though, so if that is a problem, you can submit your comments, but we ask that you don't engage in this way with other participants here, because we want them to feel like they can share as well. And you'll have more time as well. So we're gonna continue with a few more introductions. I'm gonna talk to you, because some of you are new to this process, about, and some of you are very new to the space as youth, and we wanna make sure you understand what this is. One of you is a youth council member too? Awesome. So we wanna make sure that you all understand what this is, why we're all doing it, and I do want to introduce, and you don't have to say anything you don't want. Our office takes on legal externs, interns every now and then. We now have a new legal extern who we're gonna have through December. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is JoJo Lee. I am an enrolled citizen of the North Fork Rancheria Mono Indians of California, and I am an alumna of Berkeley as well. I'm here for undergrad, and I'm currently in my last year of law school at UC Davis. Thank you.
So JoJo's gonna be helping us with some of the recommendations laws that we might need to change, some of the policy changes, and so she's gonna be with us over the next couple of weeks, so you may see her in a couple of these meetings. We're just so thrilled to have her. If you have other youth that are currently in college or in law school and can get course credit or can get funding, we can take them in as well. For us, it's just important that we bring people in to understand how it all works so that we have kind of a succession plan and people understand how to get things done from the inside of state government. Because believe it or not, I don't think we're gonna last in these positions our entire lives, unless we like, well, I won't go there. But,
There's an obvious way to do that.
yeah. So I'm gonna very briefly touch on what the Truth and Healing Council is, what this process is, why we're all here today, and then what we typically do is we pass the mic around and everyone can introduce themselves. They can provide testimony if they like, and we kind of do that through the rest of the day. What we'll probably do today is do that until maybe 10 before 4, and then if we're all feeling a certain way, we might go smudge outside. If we're all not feeling a certain way, we might do that anyway, and just send ourselves off in a good way. So the Truth and Healing Council is a California Native American-led process to address historical justice for California Indian people. It was created by executive order by Governor Gavin Newsom in June 2019.
I thought we started this program here.
It was started by the governor under executive order in June 2019, where he called to create a process with a panel of California Native people that would be a sampling of people from all sorts of different tribes, all geographical locations, age, gender diversity, and really not a representative group, but a group of a governing council that could really make decisions and create informed processes for all of California Indian country to be able to engage with this work. Its original charge was to clarify the historical record. As Connie pointed out, we don't talk about this at all. Our histories don't really address the fact that before gold was discovered, there were millennia, since time immemorial, of California Native people living and thriving all over what is now California. That this place was, before contact, the most diverse and populated place north of Mexico. The language diversity was, just unimaginable, which is what makes language revitalization so challenging in a place like California, where you could go 20 miles north and someone would be speaking a language you might not understand. 20 miles east, same thing. And really that, most people in the state spoke multiple, or what is now the state, spoke multiple languages. And so really understanding that beautiful complexity, diversity, and nuance in California is what this council was charged to do. And also tell that real story of what happened when those people's lives were disrupted by European colonizers. What happened when gold was discovered? What happened when land and a property-based economy came into this place and displaced everybody who was here since time immemorial? What happened when places were flooded because people didn't want to live where they could live, they wanted to live where they wanted to live, and so then diverted all the water from everywhere else so that they could all live somewhere that didn't have water. And that's kind of all over the state. So really what this council is doing is we go out into community. This is a regional hearing. We've been all over the state, and we try to provide space for everybody within the community to be able to share their reflections, you can't help yourself, can you?
It's hard to take pictures of ourselves when I am a photographer, so I always try to get someone to take some pictures.
I can't help myself too, it's just what I do.
You're just taking selfies all over the room. Sorry. So really, the idea with these listening sessions, with these regional hearings, with going throughout the state, is to understand from the different perspectives of different generations, different genders, different tribes, different statuses, what are the most pressing issues right now, and what is the history that brought us here. The council itself is charged with issuing a report next year that will include both that history that is more inclusive and a fuller telling of the early years of statehood and what happened to Native people, not what happened to settlers when they found Native people, or what happened to gold when it was found, or what happened to the land, but what happened to Native people. And how did we survive to get to the point we're at now? And what were the sacrifices that we had to make in order to still be here? And so what are the things that we can do now that can start making up for this past of diaspora, dislocation, removal of our languages, removal from our homes, removal from our families, removal from the structures that were built for us before contact. So that is a very long and convoluted way of saying in less than a year, the council will be issuing its report on the 175th anniversary of statehood. It will be a nice counter narrative to a celebration of something that I think was not a celebratory moment for a lot of people who were already here. It will also have an accompanying documentary, which our documentarian is in the room right now, but is technically off the clock, except Loretta just gave him a job. And the idea is that we're trying to create with that documentary piece, which is complementary and collaborative, but it's not something that we are overseeing. It's very much an independent project that is kind of following this process, is to very quickly and very, not easily, but very easily, get people who may not know the history here, may not know that Native peoples even still exist here, to understand the deep history, the deep pain, the deep nuance in what it means to be California Indian and what are our histories. And then also have that be like this tool for visibility, that if you saw that this council issued a report and recommendations, you wouldn't go like, oh my gosh, what is that? I didn't even know this was happening. You would be able to see this documentary, understand the process, and understand why these recommendations are needed. So that will be issued in less than a year. Right now we're in a regional hearing. We also have quarterly meetings, like we mentioned. The last one will be in Sacramento, and that's more of this kind of listening space, and then also covering topical issues. So sometimes we talk about things like welfare. It depends on the tribes in the region, what they'd like to talk about. Sometimes they'll want to talk about water resources. It really depends on where we're in the state. And the tribes themselves will provide their testimony within those quarterly meetings. After the final meetings of this year, we'll be then switching into the kind of report iteration and taking that out into community. So Jason is helping work with a partner that we're almost in contract with to compile not new research, but I think Connie's speaking on a little bit of what you said. What exists out there that we can pull in from California Native scholars that can capture the certain pieces in this space, or can be amended to capture what we're hearing in these spaces. It'll also be inclusive of what we're hearing in these spaces, and then also include the recommendations that are aimed at working toward a better future for California Native people. That report will be in kind of draft form, and we'll have a week of conferences where people can come and weigh in on whether anything is missing, and whether anything that they said isn't reflected, or that they would like to see reflected differently. And it's really important to us that the report, when it finally comes out in September, is really reflective of what we've been hearing over the past few years in community. So you'll all be able to engage in that process. Those conferences, or the conference will be in the first quarter of next year, so each day will have a different issue, or multiple issues that are under focus. We'll send you details once that's all final, and we'll be in Sacramento, with potential hybrid option, right? With hybrid option as well. Am I missing anything? We also have subcommittees that are still open, and so if you'd like to sign up, you can. I think we have a flyer on them, but you can also talk to Loretta as well. We have subcommittees that are created by the Governing Council to ensure that this, the final document and the recommendations are equitable. And so they employ different lenses for a common-ish history that has played out differently for different people. So we have, for example, a status and identity subcommittee that is focused on people who may not enjoy the benefits or the constraints of being a member of a federally recognized tribe. And so either, through disenrollment or for not having been recognized in the first place, or having been terminated by the federal government, what are the things that California Indians are not able to access because they can't go through a federally recognized tribe? In addition, like what other issues are people facing as they seek to express themselves as California Indians in the state, and may see just all of the constraints that come from being a very small portion of a 39 million person population. We also have a youth council where we have, don't worry, I'm not putting you on the spot. Unless you want to. We have many members here, so that's great. Where we have Native youth actually kind of dictate what they want to hear from this report and what they want to be done. A lot of the themes that we're hearing throughout that process are aligned with all of the themes that we're hearing from other generations as well, which is really cool to hear. But also is a little bit different. So they have a whole set of ideas of how they want to move forward, and that will be reflected in this report as well. There's also the education subcommittee, there's the urban communities subcommittee, there's, I'm gonna forget, elders, and people with disabilities. So really, like an example of this is gathering is an easy example. So how do each of the different types of people have constraints in gathering? If you're an elder and you can't go to the place that you used to gather when you were young because it's now been bought up by some big corporation and you can't get past the barbed wire fence, that is a huge issue. If you are a youth and your people have been prevented from expressing themselves and gathering in the places that they have been since time immemorial, and so you don't even know how to look for the right plants, that's a different type of lens. And if you need to have your federally recognized tribal ID card in order to access a state park to gather your plants, how is that preventing people who don't have that from being able to do that? So that's just one example of one issue can mean a lot of things for a lot of different people, and how you address it is going to necessarily need that kind of tailored approach, and so that's what we've been trying to do in this space. Anything else? I know folks want to talk, so I want to.
One more note about the documentary project. I did put some flyers out. I waited until after everyone kind of signed in, but I do have some flyers on the table that have a QR code, and you can watch the Sizzle Reel at. We developed this flyer in order to fundraise for philanthropy, so it does have language on there about please help us reach our goal to create this film. I want to make it clear that we are not asking you all to donate today or anything like that. But it is a QR code that you can use to watch the Sizzle Reel, because I think, we can talk about it all day, but really it's powerful seeing Native people telling their own story for once in the film. And so those are at the table. If you want some more information, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
Yeah, the second caveat to that is that it's only from 2 quarterly meetings. So if you're like, I'm from Southern California, where are my people? We do have footage of that, it's just not in the Sizzle. So with that, I hope that was sufficiently explanatory. Really, most of what we do for the rest of this meeting is just listen to all of you. So I will, with a preference for the people of the area and elders. So if there's anybody from here that wants to speak first, we can hand it to you. Otherwise, I already made eye contact, so you can't.
Hi everybody, my name is Miranda. I'm a member of the Snider-Ashtari band of the Caldwell Confederated Tribes. I'm descended from Arrow Lakes in Canada. I also work for the state of California, the Department of Housing and Community Development. And I am very happy to be here, especially as an outsider to the space. I'm here to listen and here to learn. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach Ferguson. I also work with Mary at the State's Department of Housing and Community Development and Tribal Affairs. Here today to listen and very grateful to be here.
Good afternoon, my name is Davila Blossoming Bear. Please feel free to call me V in a pinch. My people are from the Choctaw Nation, but I grew up here in California with California tribes and other diverse peoples. I also serve as the tribal liaison for the California Interagency Council on Homelessness. And we were created via executive order to coordinate the state's response to homelessness a few years ago. And I'm here to listen and learn. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Dakota. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here with the ACLU, American Civil Liberties of Northern California. And I'm really just honored to be here in the community with you all, and thank you.
Help with the subcommittee.
Yeah, if you're interested in the education subcommittee, just let me know and I'm happy to send you the calendar invite.
Thank you everyone. Notify Ryan Reed. I'm cutting through Bunny Rock from Northern California. So I'm Climate River Basin, which is a lot happening right now. I'm a second year master's student forestry here actually. I was invited to be a part of this, so I'm happy to be here. Yeah, so a lot of my stuff is around environmental science, environmental kind of impact, mostly fire, indigenous fire, incorporation, and landscape. So it's kind of my focus, my area of inquiry. But yeah, happy to be here in this space and obviously learn more about this process and how it's relevant. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Cox. I just moved back to Berkeley after 55, 60 years, 55. I'm returning to my Quaker roots because the Quakers have always had a deep interest in the welfare of indigenous people. And it's my background from Eastern Washington. I was very interested in Pacific Northwest history. So anyway, I hope to make contact with this lady and see if I can bring these issues up to the Quakers. Thank you.
Liga Sanjinyabu, Kachimalaya. My name is Dr. Jessica Mosher. I'm joining you here from the traditional unceded lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people of San Francisco, California. I and also a recent graduated. I graduated with my doctorate in December of last year. It's from the same university where my parents have been as janitors. So no privilege here, just a stubbornness for learning. Believe me, it wasn't easy. The last meeting you guys had in summer, you know that was where I was born and raised, but I came out here in search of opportunity because there isn't a lot of space in public health. Like our elder mentioned earlier, we are suffering at higher rates than any other peoples from what are called deaths of despair, which is what she described, and JAMA recently released a report on us about that. We're 2.5 times more likely to die in those ways. And in my work in public health, I'm trying to bring awareness of how we can prevent these things. You know, one of the common things said among our people is, oh, when am I gonna get diabetes? Not if, but when, you know. There's nothing on the prevention side. It's people at the doctor and they go, oh, you got diabetes, here's a Band-Aid. You know, so there's still only 6 certified public health programs among tribal nations in the United States. So there's some movement in public health, a couple of public health nurses, some studies, but a lot of epidemics we're facing among our people right now are not being able to be tackled because we don't have access to data. We don't have access to CalReady, which is California's data warehouse as far as between us and tribe. We do have tribal epidemiology centers that do collect and house our data, but they're also not willing to just turn it over with no reciprocal relationship. You know, a lot of people like to take our data and run with it, and nobody's really signing up for that. They want a two-way relationship when it comes to data. And we really need to work and build up space in the prevention side of things. So that's kind of where I hope my work will lie, is in the prevention and bringing up really resilient people that are here. We're not going anywhere, you know, but we also need some support in those areas to be healthy and live happy lives. A lot of these tribes that she mentioned earlier are stuck in loops of grief. You know, they're always, you know, when an elder dies or a youth dies, and you're going from one funeral to the next, you know, how do you break free of that cycle? And it's through prevention, you know, through, I do a lot of work in the Cal-AIM space. We have a monthly meeting where we kind of come together with the tribal communities and say how we can address the things outside of the four walls of the clinics, the homelessness, like was mentioned earlier. Why are people going to ER all the time? They're called high utilizers. How do we get them at lower levels of care and not when they're at the highest, most urgent point in their lives in a desperate state? You know, so I'm hoping to make strides in that way, and happy to talk to anybody after the meeting about how, if they want to get involved in that work and the prevention, or if they need help in that area. I'm also available as a resource to any of my relations in that area. I'm what do you call it, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed since I recently graduated, so I may not know what I'm signing up for, but that's why I went to college, is to be able to take my degree and help my people and not be part of the brain drain that we often see. Thank you. Choco y Tesia.
She's pretty powerful, isn't she? Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity this time to speak. My name is Quanah Parker Brightman. I'm Executive Director of the United Native Americans. Just to give a brief synopsis of who we are as UNA. We were founded in San Francisco in 1968. We were involved in the takeover of Alcatraz, Wounded Knee, a couple long walks across country. Led a group one time that took over Mount Rushmore and reclaimed it for my nation, the Lakota Nation. Now, my father, the great Dr. Lehman Brightman, he's actually deceased. But I came here because my father and our organization founded the Native Studies program, the first in America, here at UC Berkeley, that has now spread all over the United States. He also used to teach at DQ University. And unfortunately, we have these fascist tribes here who don't support tribal education, which is a key to our sovereignty and the future of our people, and the way that we need to actually preserve our culture and our languages. Now, as far as these gaming tribes, and echoing what Connie Reitman said, you know, they're getting $9 billion annually. Why aren't they giving money to the one and only intertribal college here in this state? Why haven't they restored that particular land? Why have they led the nation in disenrollments? The numbers now show that there's been over 10,000 of our tribal citizens disenrolled because of the greed and lust for Indian gaming. You know, my aunt, Gay Kingman, who's executive director of the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association, she and her late husband, Tim Wapato, were the founders of tribal gaming, NIGA. So, in 2008, we denounced these fascist casino people who don't support tribal sovereignty as far as our education. I'd like to see the state mandate them to supporting all of our vital programs, from Indian gaming, like Indian education, like Indian housing. No Indians, no enrolled tribal citizens should be unhoused. None. Zero. All of our tribal people should have adequate housing with all this Indian gaming that's going on nationwide. This is really appalling to me to see this greed that has corrupted our tribal society. And that is why I came here today. Now, I also came here today to stand up for the Mwekwa Ohlone tribe. I would love to see them restored as a federally recognized tribe and have their land restored to them. They deserve it. They've been in a legal fight for over 40 years. And the only thing the Bureau of Indian Affairs needs to do, and that lazy apple, is she needs to process the paperwork. That's it. There's a number of other California tribes who have gotten terminated, who have petitioned to be federally recognized and restored. They all need to be restored. All of them. And especially the people and the families who've been disenrolled and hurt by these corrupt tribal leaders in this state. Thank you.
Wow.
is Mike Kenny, and I'm very pleased to see some of my colleagues, Quanah Reitman here, and as well Connie Reitman. And I'm a reporter.
So you lost EQU, huh?
I'm a reporter with the Native Youth Magazine. We are the largest Native magazine in Canada, US, and West Europe. And we have a circulation in 38 countries. And I felt it was important to come here today to let the world know that California Indian Country is very alive. I'm an enrolled member of the East Band of Cherokee, but my family has been here in what we now call occupied California since about 1799, 1800, something along those lines. And I'm here today to report on the storyboard I'm going to do, putting out an article about all the things here today. So there you go. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Shirley Teresa Matilton Feather. Ayakui, Necknow, Shirley Matilton Feather, Bewe Metchawquechpoos, and I'm from the village of Witchpeg. I'm a base enrollee to the Yurok tribe, and these are my 3 beautiful children. Georgina, named after Georgina Matilton, medicine woman for the Lupa tribe, Lupa and Yurok tribe. My second daughter, Norma Grace Feather, named after the beautiful Norma Knight. And my son, Walter Feather III. I am here because my daughter's on the youth council, but I also own the first Native-owned and operated hair salon in Mendocino County, and provide services for our community that people did not believe were necessary. They didn't use hair salons, and it's hard to talk about because I believed that it was because we were poor that we didn't go to salons. And part of opening my business, somebody asked me to provide free services for the Native elders in my community, which I did. And these were women who had never been in a hair salon establishment owned by a Native American. There was one salon in town that provided services to the Native women, and they were made to sit next to the toilet to get their hair done, and made to sit next to the toilet and only served in Asian restaurants. And they had hired 2 Native Americans, 2 chairs were allotted for the Native American people to receive services. So many of them had to leave the county to get a perm or a haircut. So ultimately they were sued by Stephen Knight for civil rights. And they were made to open their businesses to the Native community. So then they, the townspeople decided to have a meeting, and yes, they had to provide services to Native Americans, but it didn't have to be quality. So they would burn the people's hair or give them horrific haircuts that took years to grow out and cause more trauma. So what I learned by interviewing these women was that they didn't not use salons because they were poor. If anything, these were my highest paying clients. They paid me in prayers, and that you cannot buy. I wouldn't be the woman I am today if I did not know those women and provide services for them. But to hear their stories of these were not, I'm not even from that tribe, but to know that in their lifetime, that they actually got to see it and experience it, and not from somebody trying to hurt them. And that's just a small fraction of what was denied to these people in the community. A small fraction of humanity. And I believe that still happens today. As far as I know, I still am the only Native-owned and operated hair salon in that county. And we opened in 2016, and that's appalling to me. while I'm proud of myself, it's appalling. So I think there's a lot of change that still needs to happen. And some of the comments that are made just by my daughter being accepted on this board from people in the community telling me that, well, it's because she's Native American. And you're right, it is. That's right. That's right. And I've raised my children to know that we did not come from poverty. We came from a wealth so great that they could never repay it. They could never repay the debt that they owe us. We came from wealth, true wealth, abundance. And we have to change our mindset. When you talk about our future, we have to teach our children their power and their greatness. And they need to know that they came from royalty. We did not come from poverty. The poverty is, I don't even like the word white, but I will say non-native mindset. We did not know poverty. Our people did not know poverty. We knew greatness, we knew abundance, we knew giving, we knew loving, we knew sharing. We knew healing and helping people. We didn't know destruction and negativity. And I raised my children to know the greatness in them and that they came from wealth, and not to ever buy into that we are poor. We are far from poor. But within our own communities, we suffer lateral oppression, segregation, denied opportunity, and it's still happening today when they tell us, will you reside outside the service area? You reside outside the service area, you're not qualified. And I'm a base enrollee for that track. And maybe they need to sit down and do an interview and understand why we reside outside that service area, because it wasn't a choice. It's part of the Relocation Act. You should never be denying services to anybody when you are receiving aid for those people. You should never be denying services to any other Native at all. You should never be disenrolling people unless they bring shame to their people. Now, if you're a thief or a pedophile or a rapist, then yeah, you deserve to be shunned. But speaking your mind is not a reason to shun people. Telling your truth, and we have taught all of our children, you speak your truth, you be true to who you are, and you let that frequency ring, because you will strike someone in their heart and they will know what truth feels like. You never lie. You don't lie, you tell the truth. If you lose friends over it, it's fine. Tell the truth. And I hope today that everyone is able to speak their truth. And I'm grateful for you all having us here and allowing my daughter to be on your board. We're very proud of her, proud of all of them. And I know that they have a bright future.
Hello, my name is Walter Feather Jr. This is my lovely wife. These are my children. And I just want to say thank you for being here. Yeah, we are here because of my daughter and being the age she is and stepping forward and doing the public speakings and things of that nature. I'm very proud of her, proud of all three of them, and I just want to say thank you for allowing us here.
I'm the girl from the Consumers River and Land. I'm here today to represent the homeless and nest, the tribeless, the trustless, the landless, the unwanted, the unkilled Indians of California.
My name is Connie Brighton, and I'm a member of the Pathfinders group in Lake County, trying to address the ongoing mental health issues for our tribal people, the 7 tribes in Lake County. We're part of mental health advocacy, addressing the conditions, mental health conditions impacting our tribal communities and children.
Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Martinez. I am a staff member here at UC Berkeley and incoming or new co-chair for the Native and Indigenous Council. And I had the time and wanted to be here to listen and learn. Unfortunately, I have to depart now, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here and learn.
You gotta put it kind of close.
It's on.
I would be like now Professor, and my name is Professor, and I'm from the village of Richmond, and thank you for having me here.
Where's our Superman go?
Hi, I'm Jacob Kornbluth. I have the great privilege of working on documentary projects associated with the truth and healing process. It's been an honor. I've worked on it for the past 2 years, and it's been a glorious struggle, I would say, like a really difficult film to make, and amazing stories to hear, and inspiring, honestly, to get to listen in on some of these meetings and hear some of the stories that have been a part of it. So I have learned a ton myself as far as the value of allyship for processes like this, and what it means to show up genuinely and hear people who aren't like you and listen, just listen. So I've loved that, and consider it one of the great experiences of my life. So happy to be here as a citizen for the first time and talking about it. Happy also if anybody has any stories that they think are relevant to telling as part of this process. I hope that there's some way to contact me. I do have to run out and do some stuff right after this, but I'm reachable too. So if you get a chance to see the sizzle reel that I think Loretta said is part of some of the materials that are on that table, I made that. I'm making the film. I'm also hoping that this is an ongoing documentation process, a myriad of stories across the state and the various different stories that are part of it. So I hope this is just the start of all that, and I hope we can build on it from this initial place. So thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Grace Feather, and I'm from the village of Richmond, and this is my sister, and my beautiful parents are over there, and my brother right there. And I am very happy to be here, and I am from St. Mary's School, and I'm very happy to be here. And so the thing in my school is that everybody believes on the help, the Native Americans help build the missions and everything, and it kind of annoys me because because they don't really know the truth, and I really want to help the people to know the truth about what happened. And yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Have you said anything at school about that?
No.
Do you need help? You can help reach out to them if you want.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zorn Telton. I created now Zorn Telton. Anyway, which poops. I'm from the village of Wishpat. St. Mary's Kaya, which is up north. And I'm also on student council there, environmental steward. And I'm here today to at least listen and learn for just also learn and
And if you have anything to say, just raise your hand.
Yeah.
We definitely want to hear it.
Great job.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Raya. I am a student at UC Davis. I am from the East Coast of European descent. I moved out to California 20 years ago to work for local and regional governments, explicitly on issues of land access and land justice. In most of those years, Native land access and land justice did not come up in the work unless activists were occupying a shell mound site. And so I am using my PhD studies now to understand how reparative healing can happen and get assimilated as a government practice. And I just want to say thanks so much for letting me be here and for being great teachers.
Hi everyone, my name is Albert Bullock. I'm UC Berkeley staff. I just joined the Native and Indigenous Council here in Fort Lauderdale.
Melissa Stoner and Hello everybody, my name is Melissa Stoner. I'm the Native American Studies Librarian at the Ethnic Studies Library here on campus. I am Dinet, so I'm from the Navajo Nation originally. And I am here today to listen. And I think one of the questions I did have, it was in reference to some of the documents that she was referencing. And I was just wondering if through these talks and the things people recommend, like those documents, or is there a space online that people can look at them, or like a resource library or something?
Most of those places are at the California State Library. That's mostly where they're issued from and printed from.
Yeah, so we're not doing an ongoing kind of resource list, but some of the documents that Connie referenced are actually on our resources page of the California Treatment Healing, like on our tribalaffairs.ca.gov/CTHC. So a few of them are on there. The ones that she referenced, we'll look and see if we can incorporate it. And then one of the things that we're doing with the report itself is we understand that we can't have like a bunch of 500-page things that go into this, and it needs to be easy to digest for policymakers, which means it has to be like baby food for policymakers. Yeah. And so it will be linking out to secondary sources so that people, if they want to learn more, they want to see other, source material that they can. Cool. You don't want to say anything? Okay. We have a couple of folks, I think, who are students maybe, or work, yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry for coming in late. I had a last thing I knew earlier. IUT, my name is Royal Williams. I'm a first year PhD student at Berkeley, studying cultural fire in intersections with that when it comes to fresh water, especially once the spring run shoot up on the planet. Ryan and I were planning on being here today, so we just wanted to show up and show out and support everyone we can and hear from everyone. And it's just great to be in the space. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So we're done with intros. If folks have things that they wanted to share, you can share now. And we'll just continue to be listening until you're done sharing. Can we also show anything on this?
Sorry, what was the question?
Would we be able to show something on here?
Oh yeah, for sure. I have the HD.
You have your laptop. You can watch TV the rest of the time.
That's bonding time. You want it for your PC?
So while we're figuring that out, we can show you the sizzle reel that's the documentary. If folks are interested in kind of being part of that space, our documentarian will be at the meeting in November in Sacramento as well. So just, you could be featured in this as well. I did also want to talk about how this process has been informing some policy changes and funding for things that we're hearing about throughout the process. So for example, pretty early on, we heard that you can't do truth and healing if you don't start with land back and everything that that kind of means. So as long as Native people are not in their ancestral homelands or can't access those homelands, then there's like, you're kind of missing the point. And so that informed the creation of the tribal set aside for 30 by 30, which means conserving 30% of the waters and lands in California by 2030, and the nature-based solutions funding. So just in May, about 107 million went out to 33 different tribes for over 38,000 acres of basically restoring that relationship with the lands. That's still kind of in process, and so there are things like that where that's not meant to be the fix. It's meant to be something that we're trying as we work through this process, so that in next year's report, when that's a recommendation, is to do more of that or do it in a different way or do it times a million, which would sound like a big stretch goal, but really we want to be able to have recommendations where state policymakers look at them and say, like, oh, we've done that, we can do that, it wasn't that difficult, and of course, you know, moving forward, this isn't that difficult of a lift. Other examples of that are the set aside for MMIP funding, for tribes to be able to stand up MMIP funding resources. But then other things that we've been watching and tracking are how do we catalyze funding that doesn't pass necessarily through tribes but can go directly to Native individuals. Just understanding that this process is based on not necessarily tribal status, but is based on, are you a descendant of the first people of California? And so we've been really thinking a lot about how do you build equity into recommendations if you can't do that, and understanding that there, which has come up a little bit in this conversation, but there are some tribes that have done better than other tribes in the current capitalist structure, and so how do we both help all tribes, but then also address the fact that there are some that don't want to engage in the same way with this kind of structure that we are all living under, or who have engaged and just haven't been able to have the same kind of economic success. So just putting that out there that there's a lot of things that come up in these meetings that we've been trying, and so you'll see some of those in the recommendations as well. You got it? We got it. I filibustered for a while. Hold on. You gotta turn it up. Okay. What happened?
She might just be.
It's a little bit.
Here, I got you. You might just have to plug it in, plug it back in. We've done that before. Oh, I see.
My family name is recognized and my mission name is Pink, so there you go. And of course, I'm the bald-headed guy only because I'm recovering from cancer, but what the hell?
Champions.
Yeah. prayer before we go any further? We have not done prayer. Nobody has done prayer.
So with our meetings, we tend to just go publicly with prayer, but we were unable to secure.
I'd be happy to do a
if you're
traditional
happy.
prayer if you want.
I think it's fine, yeah.
I'd be happy to do a traditional prayer if there's no one here to do it.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want the?
No. I come from the family of Cherokee called Singer for obvious reasons, you'll see. Let us bow our heads to the great creator of all things. O great creator of all things, your children, your sons and daughters are gathered before you in a good way. They are here to help our people, and our people truly need your help. We have never left, we have never gone, we are still here. And before this, I would like to sing a traditional song. In Cherokee language, it is called Beauty Way. And I will sing it in Cherokee first, and then in English next. Aye, 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 oh. Aye, aye, oh, aye, 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 oh, aye, aye. Aye, aye, oh. Aye, aye, oh, aye, aye, oh, aye, aye. Oh, great Creator, I ask this blessing for all the men, women, children, and babies that are present here today. Beauty before them, beauty behind them, beauty to the left of them, beauty to the right of them, beauty to the top of them, beauty below them, beauty inside of them, beauty outside of them. May each and every one of your children present today walk in your spiritual beauty. Aye, 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 oh. Aye, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh. Aye.
Oh. Yeah, so as Loretta mentioned, typically we'll have traditional healers with us, and we just doesn't have one today. So we really appreciate it. If folks want to keep weighing in, that's fine too.
We can just sit and play. So I think this is pretty loud and it's gonna be small, so if you want to crowd in, I don't think we're gonna get this working.
Okay, that's fine.
It's on for at least the other people.
Yeah, follow our social media. But I'm gonna play it as loud as I can.
So if folks want to see this more, maybe start it over.
It was normal to experience intense loss. We had friends who were dying by suicide.
Those come from systemic problems in our society that stem from genocide. There's not a person in California who hasn't benefited from the genocide of our people. In 1860, California passed a law that said you could go out and shoot any native from the building. There are some children, unfortunately, removed to reported since age 3.
These children made indentured slaves. They probably got to watch some risk. We talk about historical trauma, but there's present trauma right now.
I'm sorry, on behalf of the state of California.
Governor Newsom is apologizing to Native Americans and announced the formation of a new commission called the Truth and Healing Council.
What can you do to make this be different, community-driven, meaningful, and actually work in California?
We go above and beyond our job description to make sure this is done right. Part of it is this truth telling. It's an opportunity to tell our story and for state government to listen and then take some accountability.
Acknowledging that you're on our land without returning that land to indigenous peoples shows that you're doing very little to put your money where your mouth is at times.
Look what we've done to the land, and if we can go back to some of those traditional ecological ways, the land gets healed and we get healed.
I think I'm looking for things that we can inspire direct action, especially around what it has meant to be the survivors of an
I came here when I was 10 years old in 1950. I was sent here not because of my choice.
So all of the buildings that have the rock were built by the students.
Yeah, the stone buildings are a beautiful thing, but like, is that really what we want to like romanticize? These kids were kind of like forced labor.
Took the washer out and they fought the place real hard. They wanted to wash away the India or something. Was the government's intention to eradicate our culture?
And of course, all the girls that went to Sherman too came back still like.
But Grandma would say that. She would say, "Oh yeah, when I left the hospital, they told me that Dickie ruined me. It's the only one I'll ever have."
I think for very long in this state, we and really was happening in our lives. And it's something
It's not an easy task. I made the choice to do something that probably is slower going, but I'm hopeful will produce like bigger results and bigger change and bigger ongoing healing.
One of my employees came up to me and told me that oh, we were just hiking up in Lake Tahoe and we saw a sign that said this is where Washington people used to be. And I said, well, we're still here.
So this is a sizzle reel, which is a fancy word for a filmmaking word, but it's basically like a snapshot. And to get an idea of the film project we are working on, and really want to thank you for that prayer. And I know in that prayer you said we're still here, because that really is kind of that baseline understanding that we want to get across in California, because all too often we remain to feel invisible in our own homelands. And so I think this film is a step towards providing that baseline education for everybody, as well as being reflective of the actual Native narratives. And so I think that's really powerful. And in addition to that, we're hoping to be able to provide a roadmap for other communities to take on initiatives like this as well. This is the first of its kind in the United States. There was the Maine Wabanaki Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Truth and Reconciliation Commission that focused on Indian child welfare. So it's very, focused commission, whereas this one is focused on a very broad issue, many issues facing California Native people today. That stems from this historical trauma and these atrocities that happened at statehood. And so, again, there is a QR link on a flyer over there that you can watch with better quality without me, shaking, holding my little laptop up. So, and again, we posted it on our social media as well. Governor Tribal Affairs social media pages is there as well. And happy to connect with anyone if you would like to get in touch with the filmmaker. Just please pull me aside and let me know.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, part of the plan is for this to be done in conjunction with the report, to really put kind of a face and real humans behind what this history is, what the recommendations are, what our ongoing need still is. And I don't even want to call it need. I think how we see our futures playing out in partnership or not partnership with our neighbors and the state and the local communities. Part of this is that with the release of the report and the recommendations, it will be by design an iterative process. We don't think that next year a report will come out and everything will be fixed immediately. That's not how things like this work. We think that it'll get people starting to think. We think that this will be a companion thought piece for people who even see the sizzle reel have no idea that this is kind of the state of play in California. And so, this is gonna be a lifelong journey for a lot of Native people in hopefully having a final push of educating a very, very ignorant population so that we can have a better future for our future generations. We are in the process of, we've talked to CSU a couple, but CSU and UC, once this is ready, we'd like to be able to host some screenings in partnership with some of the campuses so that it can also be used as a thought piece for students who are learning about this type of thing as well. And students who are members of land grant institutions and other tax funded institutions. So we're really happy with how it's been done in a way where it's Native people telling our own stories. And so we hope that it speaks for itself, and that when people look at those recommendations, they see the people speaking from it and not just words on a paper that might, get placed on a shelf for someone else to deal with. We really want this to be a movement and a culture shift, and that's, kind of what we've been working toward.
Just a little lift, that's what we are, and it's community driven, and so that is the purpose of us going out into community, is that this process is community driven, and so.
So I'm curious about cultural sensitivity training within the schools for the teachers working with our children. And my main concern with that is some of the projects that they have or children do are confrontational and very provocative. And most people will talk about the reaction, but they won't talk about the provocation. So when I'm sent a picture of Mount Rushmore and they ask my daughter whose face she'd like to see carved on it, we actually probably would have liked to not see anything carved on it. We would have liked to see it left alone. Because we have to bow down to our oppressors and celebrate white supremacy when we're in a powerful place of prayer. And many of our sacred sites have been desecrated, including some of the ones in Humboldt County. We have to drive by a strip club to go pray. And these are sacred sites that we go to for cleansing, for revitalization. And I don't believe that there's proper cultural sensitivity in the schools, and I don't actually think that it's intentional racism. I believe it's racism of ignorance, because they just don't know how bad it is to celebrate these holidays of white supremacy and to keep reiterating the same story that is not true. So when we're celebrating holidays of the first day that women could vote, that did not include our grandmothers or great-grandmothers. Our great-grandmothers couldn't vote until the 60s. So when we're celebrating this 100-year, it's really a slap in the face to any minority person in the state of California or in the United States, actually. But we keep celebrating and praising these holidays that aren't even real, and then they send home assignments for our children in school as well that are not accurate. And so, as a parent, we tell our children, well, this is what really happened. And, our children are where we were the slaves. But we also tell them, don't say anything in school because you're the only Native American in that class. So if you speak up, it could be viewed as negative and confrontational, when it's best just go with the flow, do the assignment, get the A, and just keep it, in the home we talk about it freely. We talk about the genocide, and that we're the only race that is socially acceptable for genocide. Like, this is the only race that it's socially acceptable what's happening to our people. And that actually, I feel like negative even saying it, but the government's sole purpose is the genocide of our people.
That's right.
So
The
that's,
whole history of California is so much worse even than I lived many years in eastern Washington, and the difference is unbelievable. When I moved to California, I was totally shocked at the extent of and has anybody done anything about a friend of mine in Miwok is going to Hastings Law School?
oh, the name,
Because of Serenius Hastings and his part in the genocide, and I haven't heard any
They changed
mention.
the name.
Pardon me?
The name's
It's gone, yeah.
It's now just UC Law.
It's what?
UC Law.
It's UC Law now. Oh, there is no Hastings? Oh, okay. Well, then UC is taking on part of the same. And then I wanted to ask this gentleman, are you allowed in the downstairs in Berkeley, in the anthropology department? Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Because you're a historian, right?
Not exactly. I work at California State Parks. I'm training as a geographer. I don't have any special access.
Okay, because I went to the protest that they were closing the anthropology library. This is something that my Miwok friends were very concerned about because their remains are downstairs in that even graduate students are no longer allowed to visit or to learn anything from. So all of this
Part
is,
of updated protocols though?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are protocols that tribes asked for.
yeah, well, I don't know, did they actually close the library? I think perhaps not.
They did.
Right, they did.
They did close that repository.
So where did all those books go?
That's a really good question.
That's a very important question.
Part of, I think, I'm not sure what, because I'm also asking those questions.
I'm
also
sorry.
asking, were those materials that were culturally sensitive? Was there any case studies done? Was there any outreach? As far as I know, the main libraries had ingested some of those collections in the anthropology library, but I'm not sure what they have done with the items that were considered culturally sensitive. They may have put them in storage off-site.
So what does culturally sensitive mean? Sensitive to who?
It's communities.
What?
It's really like, I mean, it's just kind of like when you look at cultural sensitivity, it's more of like a case by case basis, right? So
I'm
what
sorry,
could be?
I'm hard of hearing, so.
Here, have this. Pull up your earrings. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your question again about cultural
So
sensitivity?
when you say culturally sensitive, does that mean would offend Native peoples or would offend whites?
Oh, no, no, I mean, we're not worried about white people.
Yeah. Good.
We're
It's more,
recording right now. That's gonna be part of
oh yeah,
it.
that's fine. I guess I did say white people. So.
That's our tagline.
Yeah, so, it's more along the lines of culturally sensitive toward indigenous peoples, toward, indigenous communities.
And so like, it would be, for example, if there was a material that said something about a ceremony that a tribe did since time immemorial, and the tribe didn't ask for it to be put in there, it's actually super secret and internal to the tribe. And so they're saying, we don't want this in publication, and we don't want people that we don't know looking at our stuff. It's kind of like if you had, you know, in the Catholic Church, certain things that you do that aren't for outside consumption.
Okay. But I mean, I would talk to graduate students, and I mean, honestly, they're trying to close down the anthropology whole department as far as I can see. Because when you take away the library, you've really taken away. I mean, someone said, well, you can get it on, you know, AI will tell you everything you need to know. This is crazy.
If AI will tell you what you need to know about it, it will get a really big problem. But
That's a big.
I think, though, I do want to recharacterize what's happening because it is happening because federal laws and state laws are requiring better practices by anthropology departments that are not extractive. So what's happening is like places like the Natural History Museum are completely closing down certain sections while they do the consultation they should have done before actually creating those things.
So you're saying that they didn't observe the laws, I know, which said that remains should go back to the people and the Native peoples, and I know my Miwok friend said, my grandfather is in your basement.
Well, so that's part of it. Part of it too is that there's items that sometimes shouldn't be on display, like they were meant to be buried or they're meant for certain, to be treated certain ways. And so part of it is that all of this stuff was collected and done for non-Native people's consumption and was not done in consultation with the people it was from. And so right now, pretty much all across the United States, all of the institutions are required to just like fully halt, level set, and then have those conversations so that those collections can reflect what tribes want them to reflect, and that they can teach people what tribes are okay with people learning versus kind of a more extractive like approach of we're gonna learn about all of your things and you don't matter and you're your thoughts and consent don't matter. So it's more of kind of flipping how we do this type of study and not saying anthropology is off the table forever, but that there really needs to be a reset in how it's done so that tribes feel like it reflects what they're okay with people learning about them.
May I interject for a minute, please? Oh, well, thank you. I didn't mean to, but my mouth couldn't work. Okay, here's what we've got going on. Now, 100, now, check out, first of all, let me, now that I'm not doing the press thing for a minute, let me wear my other hat, or beret. My name is Mike Raccoon Eyes Kenny, and I am the National Vice Chair for the United Urban Warriors Society. We are one of the nation's largest, we get the job done attitude for more human and civil rights for Indian country in not only California, but the US and Canada. Now, the number 125 million Native peoples from the first time the Europeans set foot on this shore through ethnic cleansing and racial genocide. Hitler, the Indian killer, Jackson, called for my people, we were the first to go. He called us, he wanted to have the final Cherokee solution. Hitler sent his boys over pre-World War II, about 1935, requested the War Department to go ahead and give all of the information to him. So from there, he followed up the Indian killers stuff. Long walks, transportation in cattle cars, concentration camps, which eventually would become the so-called reservations and rancheries. Now, there is still cultural genocide happening at this institution. You know, as Aretha Franklin said, let's call this song exactly what it is. I feel it is painfully disturbing that UC campuses have failed to return the remains of the ancestors, and that UC disrespectfully has ongoing delays that have prevented California tribal peoples from fulfilling their sacred duties, as you were saying, to rebury the ancestors. And it is time that UC system to meet this obligation, or have the state of California simply cut off the funding to these racist cultural, racist colonial institutions in the UC system until they have fully implemented NAGPRA and NAGPRA. And the state auditor must continue to make sure that this institution and all the other, 22, 27 in the system are in compliance. And they're still doing the audits now and in 2026. Now, the numbers vary here, going back a little more what you were talking about. The numbers vary somewhere between 500,000 to 850,000 skeletal remains that are either fully intact, partially intact. We're not even talking about sacred ceremonial items, or for lack of better words, artifacts. Now, this institution holds somewhere between 10 to 12,000 skeletal remains that may be fully intact or are partially intact. They are held right over here behind the stadium, as you were saying, in boxes. Now, there was this fellow here named Professor Tim White. We've all heard of Mr. White. This clown actually thought it was okay to take skeletal remains of California tribal people and use them in his class. And you know, I think it is important that this committee, excuse me, I was missing it, that this organization of very highly educated individuals needs to take a position and say, dude, you were wrong for what you did, but more importantly, to go ahead and get on ass about these people ponying up and returning what is ours to our communities. You know, when I went out to Kentucky a few years ago with my one of my cousins, Amanda Ray and I were out there, and we were totally disgusted that our village site at Sookie Creek, which is in Pikeville, Kentucky, in the county of Pike, Kentucky, there were 3 burial mounds. Probably 25,000 years of age, with the ancient ones who sleep there. You know why they were tearing them down? To build Walmart. About 20 of us went out there and we stood in front of those dozers. Then the next day we came back with guns. You know, this madness has to stop. And you know, you gotta look at the faculty who teaches here. You know, back in my day, the Temptations had a song called The Educated Fools from the Educated Schools. You know, and this organization, and don't get me wrong, the governor is out of sight. I really like what he went and did. My God, it's about time. But if you want real healing, let's go ahead and take a chance with it. We got everything to win and absolutely nothing to lose. And you know, I'm with you, young lady. I remember when we came out here to this campus, we had about 20,000 people packed right out at Sproul Plaza. And we came back for the next couple of days. And man, we raised hell.
When was that?
Maybe 07, 08, 09, somewhere in there.
I was teaching part.
And you know, all I want to say, I'm not trying to make this a pity party here, but all I'm just trying to say is that, you know, just remember, like the song says, you can kill my body, you can kill my soul, but you don't stand a chance against our prayers, and you don't stand a chance against our. Next.
I just like to add one more thing about what happens in universities. I'm from Albany Hills, New York, and we've had many university anthropological students on the side of Caltrans highways because why? They have the site records and know where they are. They're out there digging for their class. We've had to stop them. We've had to put fencing down because for the last, well, ever since they told them where it was, you should see all the holes. And these are all from students, not poachers, not people with those metal detectors and stuff. No, these are students who are continuing to do this. Continuing.
We need to hear more from you, the students.
I do want to mention too, because some of the things we've been thinking about in terms of recommendations are, like, how do we solve some intractable problems that didn't actually take too long to create the problem, but because it's so messed up, is just really complicated to solve. And so one of the things that I've been looking into is just the regular California Cemetery Bureau and like how do people, like, how are they taking care of people generally in California, and once they passed on, and are there places where there might be reinterment that could actually have, like, you know, ongoing protection protection of those places, that maybe there would be, and a lot of different agencies are looking into this in different capacities.
I agree, yeah.
The thing that I learned though, and this is kind of just a thought piece, is there are certain cemeteries that are for profit that once they stop making a profit, they can just kind of abandon them. And so it's like a value statement of how this country and how this society treats people who have passed on. That it's like, I thought we could appeal to people's common humanity of like, how are we treating our ancestors and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, but the society doesn't care. And so I don't know how to get beyond that other than to just figure out how to like do it for ourselves, or to, I don't know how to build a conscience in a society that doesn't actually have one. So I just want to put that out there, that it's like, there are some things in this process that I was like, well, everybody wants to do the right thing.
You know,
and that's not actually true.
You're right, because you know, like when Idle Memorial first started up in Canada, back in December of 2012, when all of the nations of Canada, First Nations, came together, then it caught on. North America, Central America, South America, Caribbean. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? We did that all by ourselves. We didn't need anybody's help. We didn't want anybody's help. But look at what we did. Look at what. And you know something? Don't forget. North, Central, South America, Caribbean, we make what? 1.5 billion people. 1.5 billion people. We're not this little teeny tiny, whatever this crap they perpetuate is. 1.5 billion. You better watch out. Oh, one thing, we got a photograph of you. That photo is. Oh yeah, that's all. Okay. Show me that plan and smile.
Okay, now that that's out of the way. So I do think I do want to put it out there that it's like a lot of this, I think we can get there, and that's why we're trying to shift the narrative and humanize our people, is that first people have to see you as people before they can understand the depth of the atrocities that happen to our people. But then also I think it's about, and we actually had kind of, he's not here anymore, but I was having a conversation about like how do you reframe value sets to, because similar to what we heard about the Mount Rushmore piece, like if you don't value the lands as sacred and as part of your origin stories and as part of who you are as a person, then you don't really care when you do a bunch of stuff to the land because it didn't matter to you anyway. And so I think part of this process of both the documentary but then this circle and also the outcome document is reframing our story based on our values and what we think other people should also be valuing, because those are the values of this land and they're not from this land. So just kind of putting that out there. Now I'm actually getting like a nice Tom, did you want to introduce yourself, or you can just kind of?
Thank you. I'll just say hello. I apologize for being late to the meeting due to family matter. I'm glad to see the continuing work of the council. I was invited a couple of years ago to participate and been able to go to 5 or 6 across the state. I come from the perspective of the environmental community first, but now joining with as much as I can with the collective story emerging. I worked on the foothills of the Sierras on the Stanislaus River trying to recover Native American sites before they built New Maloney's Dam. I worked with the Friends of the River and the Environmental Defense Fund and others who have worked on the removal of the dams on the Clam River. And on the Colorado River uranium mining in tribal areas there. And so I am just here to be a witness and grateful for all that I hear, and know that the time is right for it to be shared, as you're all pointing out.
Any other thoughts anyone wants to share? Did you guys get to take school off today?
They have to write a report on everything that they take in today to turn into their teachers for class credit. So they'll be networking with all of you, hopefully. I was gonna ask if you get some emails, because they'll email you a copy of their report. So,
No pressure.
and our oldest daughter is working on a produce project, which will be 3/4 of her grade. And she's gonna do it on the MMIP. And so, she's trying to build a little network to develop, just
consultant
for
and insight.
facts for her project. Like, she wants to be as accurate and factual as possible. We tried doing it, previously, but like they said, it needs to be a reciprocated, relationship, and so we weren't really able to obtain some of the numbers and accuracy that we needed, so she just picked a different subject that time. But this time, we're gonna try to really go for it, so.
Well, we might know some people if you need some help.
Yeah, definitely. And next will be Nora Grace, she'll move up the ranks. So,
Anyone else? Everyone's tired?
But
Yeah. Where did our other mic go?
So I was looking at the flyer for the committee, the council that the governor supported. And it, it states, which is a step, I think, where he's apologizing and then he's acknowledging, which are great, they're words, but then funding and policy, is there any movement from the governor or that level that's changing?
Sure. So I'm a direct report from the governor. I'm in his cabinet. So if you need decision makers, I'm right here. But his apology was basically an opener and was basically like, we know, as a 4A governor, no one has ever apologized for this awful thing that happened. Some people have talked about it, but no one's ever said, hey, I take full accountability on behalf of all of California. I see the pain that there is and I want to apologize. And it was really more of an opener. And this group, the Truth and Healing Council, is intended to fill out what does that apology mean and what would be most responsive to address the harm felt. And so instead of saying, I apologize, here's a bunch of stuff that I've decided you need based on whatever rubric I've come up with as the state, it's more about, we're doing this kind of listening season, which Vice Chair Myers had mentioned doing, just to really understand from the community's perspective, what are the things that are most important and where does the funding need to go and how does it need to go out, so that once the recommendations in this report that come out next year are published, people see themselves in the recommendations and don't feel that they're solving problems that nobody asked to be solved. So that's a long answer of the recommendations will include recommendations for policy changes, funding changes, and then also public-private types of things. And so what can an individual do to help in their community? What can a local government do to engage in its own process of accountability? What can an NGO do to engage in its own process of accountability, all while not burdening all the tribes with asking all these questions? And how can you be a more informed citizen of California, understanding that everybody who lives here has some role in addressing what happened here and the ongoing injustices? So the recommendations will be in that report. There will be some things that may need to go through legislation. So the design of the report, it was intended to give us at least a little bit of room so that if we need to have a legislative vehicle, the governor can do that before he's out. But there's going to be some things where we propose the budget, and so if there are things that we have a budget for, we could also add things once the report's out as well.
I just wanted to say thank you. I am so sorry that I forget your name, but I definitely remember the stories that you shared. Sure. I'm grateful for the stories that everyone shared, but I think what just like really resonated with me from what you were sharing is how important representation is. And I think in something as simple, as seemingly simple and like just like a basic boring mundane thing of life as like going to the salon, how even not having representation and visibility in that setting can be so traumatic and damaging and painful. And I think that's something that we just don't, I mean, so many people just don't have a sense of like what it means and feels like and looks like to spend your whole life being the one person, and for your beautiful children to continue to live that in school is really like painful and hard. And I think it's also why allies and continuing to share these stories it's so important, because coming from doing some of that advocacy work in schools prior to my work now, there are so many people that just don't know. And that's not an excuse, they should. But how can the other people in the room and the other people who can hear these stories also contribute and help so that the burden isn't on the one Native student in class or their family to do that work. Thank you.
Well, also, the thing is that doing hair is a very cultural thing for us. It's a spiritual thing, and there are stuff that I won't discuss because I was told not to by my grandparents that go with the job that I do. And it is very spiritual work for our people, and there does actually need to be a place for that for our people, because some of the services that we provide, I say we, my husband and I mean, a lot of it is spiritual work, and it has absolutely nothing to do with mainstream hair. I mean, this is work that we do for our communities and for our people, and there are also people who come in our salon that are just there for hair and good energy, and that's great. We love that too because it pays the bills. But the other portion of what we do is spiritual work, and working with people's hair is very sacred because energy transference is real, whether people want to believe in that or not. Our hair is everything to us. And our hair, part of the trauma was the things that were done in the boarding schools to people with the hair. The first thing that they did was cut the hair to break the spirit. Because our hair is our sacred antenna that connects us to our ancestors, to the universe, to our spirituality, to who we are, to our identity. My children, my oldest daughter has had one haircut in her life when my grandfather passed. My middle daughter, one haircut in her life. My son just got his first haircut 6 months ago. He got 1 inch cut off. And actually that's the first hair that grew off of his head. You know, so he is now a man versus a baby. And these are transitional things that happen with the hair. And if we don't have someone to provide those services for us, it's more than just going to a salon. It's an actual experience that there are spiritual practices that go with it when you are touching other people and touching their hair. So there's a place for it. It just isn't in mainstream society. But we were forced into going into these other salons that just look at it as a haircut or coloring our hair, and they didn't look at it as part of spiritual practice for us, and they didn't understand it or anything that goes with it. These are people who are having sex with multiple partners, and their energy is all muddy. These are people who are using drugs the night before or even while they're at work touching our hair. These are people who are consuming alcohol. Spiritually, these are damaged people touching the most sacred part of our being. And we really can't. That's just, it's not good for our people in general, so we do need to see
big movement for the African American community, but there's no big movement for the Native American community because it will make people have to focus on how they're living. And that it's not healthy to live that way. It's not a healthy practice for anyone, no matter what your race. It's not healthy to use drugs or alcohol and be touching other people. You shouldn't be doing that. That's damaging. You can hurt somebody. You can chemically burn someone and alter their life for the rest of their life. For us, we understand the spiritual responsibility that we've been given.
I appreciate that so much because my hair is in the best conditions, but I can tell you that the last time I went and had my hair cut, because this is all wind blown cut off when I did, was when Friends was real big and they did the Jennifer Aniston on everything. You put that on me. I never went to another, I won't let look at this.
Trauma. It's trauma.
It's like, what?
It's trauma.
So thank you for recognizing me.
Anyone else? Well, we've got about 5 minutes to 4. I do want to say that a lot of what we hear today will go into the recommendations for the Treatment Healing Council report that will come out next year. A lot of what you say in these meetings, we also will use to inform our day job, which is the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs, where we oversee all of the tribal work in California and our government-to-government relationships with tribes in California. And I did want to mention, if anybody is inclined, that we do have some influence in appointments. And so if there are boards or commissions that you might be interested in serving on, please contact us. Or if you've ever wondered how to get into that kind of space, most of them are not that time consuming. They're maybe quarterly meetings. They're within a number of professions. And so we would be happy to help you all navigate that if you're interested. Anything else you want to add? Or? Do we have a lighter?
Does anyone have a lighter? Very important question. Oh, we do.
Okay. Everyone take your back. Well, thank you again to the Berkeley folks. This was a lovely space to meet in. I like being able to see this redwood outside of the window. And the food was amazing. Really appreciate your being so accommodating. And that will be the close of today. For those of you joining us tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow. And for those of you who want to join us, we'll go light up some sage in the courtyard and burn it all down.